We've arrived at the 2022 WTA Finals in Fort Worth, and it's time to cap off an exceptional tennis season. That was good, right? Anyways, yes, most of the tennis season has been dominated by world number one Iga Swiatek, who will be an overwhelming favorite to add another huge trophy to her collection. Do the other 7 women even stand a chance at stopping the Polish Phenom? I'll preview the draw here before giving my thoughts of who I think will take it all here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. The total prize pool for the finals is $5 million US, and players can earn a max of 1,500 ranking points and about roughly $1.7 million if they go undefeated in all of their 5 matches. The tournament does have a round-robin format with the 8 players being split into 2 groups. The 2 best performing players from each group will then advance to the semifinal round, where it then becomes single elimination. In Group TRACY Austin, we have Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, Garcia, and Daria Kasatkina. Looking at each women's 2022 season, first starting with Iga, she's quite literally on the years, toting a 64-8 win-loss record and raking in $9.4 million. The poll ascended to the top of the women's rankings in March, following the surprise retirement of Ash Barty, but she's carried the torch quite nicely herself. Swiatek went on the longest winning streak of the century at 37, which saw her become the youngest women's player ever to complete the Sunshine Double, before only dropping 2 sets during the regular clay season to win Stuttgart, Rome, and of course Roland Garros. Iga did struggle for a bit after losing the win streak at Wimbledon, but persevered, managing to win the US Open despite not playing her best. She's back to her solid form now, playing at a high level, reaching the finals of Ostrava and winning the San Diego 500 a few weeks ago. This is Swiatek's 2nd consecutive final showing, as she went 1-2 during the round-robin stage last year in Guadalajara. Iga to me is kind of a shoo-in to make the semifinal stage, and I'd be very surprised if she didn't make it out. She's had Coco Gauff and Daria Kasatkina's numbers this year, beating Coco 3 times in 2022 and Daria 4. She didn't even drop a set in those 7 matches either. Iga though did fall to Garcia on clay after Wimbledon, and I do feel like the French woman has the best shot game-wise to cause Iga trouble. Garcia was actually the only one out of the entire field to beat Iga this season, as the Polish woman has gone undefeated against all the other 6 women. Regardless, Iga will be happy with this section, and I see her progressing to the knockout round. Up next is American Coco Gauff, who had a very solid season, going 38-19 and bringing in about $2.9 million in prize money. Coco's season was honestly a bit meh for the first part, but it really kickstarted after Roland Garros, where she reached her first slam final. From then on, she continued her strong results, ultimately making the quarters or better in 9 tournaments, including the recent San Diego and Guadalajara events. These consistent showings raised her to a career high of world number 4, but the Americans also been killing it on the double circuit, becoming world number 1 in August and qualifying for the finals here alongside Jessica Pegula. Making her debut this year, Coco is the youngest woman to qualify for the tour finals since Maria Sharapova did it in 2005. Of course, we mentioned the lopsided head-to-head with Iga, but I think Coco has a very strong shot against Kasatkina, who doesn't have the weapons of Iga to hurt her. And then she leads the head-to-head against Garcia, beating her earlier this year in Doha. I do not see her beating Iga, but if she wants to progress further, the matches against Garcia and Kasatkina are must-wins. Now, with the exception of Ash Barty, Madison Keys, Wang Qiang, Simona Halep, Amanda Anisimova, Paula Badosa, and Victoria Azarenka, all of Coco's losses this year have been to players that have made the finals. On one hand, this is good because it shows you that Coco rarely loses to scrubs, but then too, her record against the field here isn't good at all, making the prospects of her taking the trophy here look pretty bleak. But you never know, Coco is capable of scrapping out match wins you wouldn't expect of her, so she could surely do the same here. 6th seed Caroline Garcia held a strong 41-19 win-loss record and earned $2.1 million. She had a very slow start to the season, which turned upside down after winning the French Open doubles crown alongside Kiki Mladenovic. Caroline won 2 250 titles in the summer before becoming the first qualifier to win a WTA 1000 crown after taking the Cincinnati Trophy. Garcia continued her excellent form into Flushing, where she reached her first slam singles semifinal. Things honestly haven't been that great for the French woman since the Open, as she went 1-3. Granted, her draws weren't easy, but she did have an apparent messy split with her coach Bertrand Perret, which could be a big factor. This is Caroline's second WTA Finals appearance, as she reached the semi-final stage 5 years ago in Singapore. She actually has a very good 6-2 record over the finals field this season, but I am worried that she might have lost that mojo and confidence we saw during the summer with this rough patch and her splitting with her coach. I think if Caroline plays like how she did during the summer hardcourt swing, she'd progress, but I doubt that we see the same player here in the finals. The last woman in the TRACY Austin group is Daria Kasatkina, who held a 40-20 record for the year and earned $1.5 million in prize money. Daria had a slower start to the season, partly due to her drawing Iga 3 tournaments in a row from Melbourne, Dubai, and then Doha. Kasatkina really started to find her footing during the clay season, where she reached the Rome and Roland Garros semifinals. She also picked up 2 titles during the North American hardcourt swing, including the San Jose 500. Due to some rough draws, Kasatkina didn't have a bunch of success at the bigger tournaments, but still managed to reach a career high ranking of number 8 in the world. Now, Kasatkina has struggled a bit since her Granby 250 title in August, going 3-4. Daria Kasatkina is a player whose peak isn't necessarily as good as many players ranked below her, but she does know how to compete and get the W at the end of the day. I don't think she has much of a shot against Iga, but she can scrap her way to victory over Carol and Coco. For my Austin group prediction, I have Iga going 3-0, beating Coco, Caroline, and Daria. I think Coco will go 1-2, losing to Iga and Daria, but I believe she'll take out Caroline. I do have Garcia going 0-3 because of the reasons I mentioned earlier, and then Kasatkina 2-1. I know that's a bit of a gamble, but I believe the 8th seed can have a little run here, I feel like. So, Iga and Daria are my predicted semifinalists. Moving on to Group Nancy Richie, there's Ons Jabeur, Jessica Pegula, Maria Sakkari, and Aryna Sabalenka. Ons had by far her best ever season, going 46-15 and making $4.7 million on court. The Tunisian picked up 2 additional titles, including a 1000 in Madrid, becoming the first Arab woman to win a tournament of that stature. Perhaps even bigger was Jabeur's run to the finals at Wimbledon and the US Open, which brought her to a career high ranking of 2 in the world. Ons played only 1 tournament after the Open at 250 in Tunisia, where she lost in the quarterfinals. This is Jabeur's first finals appearance after infamously coming so close to qualifying last year before Annette Kontaveit went on that unbelievable run last season and snagged the final spot. It's honestly incredible when you consider that Ons didn't earn any points from 3 out of the 4 slams in 2022. A big reason behind Ons' success this season is her success against the top players. Jabeur is currently 5-2 against the finals field from the season, only losing to Iga Swiatek. Like Ons, 3rd seed Jessica Pegula also had her best season on tour, going 42-18 and adding a mere $3.4 million to her already loaded pocketbook. Jessie managed to win 1 title, the Guadalajara 1000 last week, so she's coming in here with a lot of momentum. Pegula was extremely consistent at the highest levels too, making 3 out of 4 slam quarterfinals, which surely contributed to her career high ranking of 3 in the world. Jessica doesn't have the best head-to-head against her group mates or the entire field, as she can be outclassed if her opponents have greater weapons. This isn't an easy section for her, as she lost to Ons twice this year and once each to Maria and Aryna. She can take solace in knowing that all those losses were earlier in the season, as the Americans improved a lot during the hardcourt swing. In fact, she just dominated Sakkari in the Guadalajara finals last week. In this section, Ons and Aryna will be her biggest threats, but her biggest overall, Iga Swiatek, isn't here, which Jessie will be very thankful for. Unlike the first 2 women in this group, 5th seed Maria Sakkari did not have her best season, but it was still fairly decent overall, as she went 37-22 and brought in $2.1 million. After a mid-Aussie swing, Sakkari had a good month from February to March, where she reached the semifinals of Doha and finals of St. Petersburg and Indian Wells. Following that Indian Wells finals loss, Maria struggled immensely and had a very disappointing clay season, going 4-4. During the summer hardcourt swing, Maria failed to win 2 consecutive matches, going 2-4 during her 4 tournaments. Sakkari managed to make the finals of a 250 event in Parma, but once again lost before falling in the opening rounds of Ostrava and San Diego. The Greek woman truly salvaged her season in Guadalajara, scraping her way to the finals and solidifying her spot in Texas. When you think about it, it's kind of crazy that she made it to the finals with how much of a subpar season she had, and to be ranked 5th nonetheless. That's not But hey, she did what she had to do, and you can't hate the player, hate the game. This is Maria's second straight finals appearance after she made the semis last year. Sakkari has never beaten Jabeur and has a losing record against Sabalenka, but she does lead the head-to-head against Pegula. Her 4-6 record against her fellow finalists in 2022 isn't too terribly bad, and with her weapons, she's capable of beating just about anyone here. The final woman we have to observe is 7th seed Aryna Sabalenka, who held a 30-20 win-loss record and made $1.7 million in prize money. Sabalenka infamously started the year with some major double fault woes, but still managed to make the second week in Melbourne. Aryna didn't win a single match during the Sunshine Double, but she has somewhat of a solid clay season, making the Rome semifinals and Stuttgart finals, losing to Swiatek both times. Sabalenka did make a 250 grass final in the Netherlands and really started picking up her level during Cincinnati, where she made the semis there before making the last 4 in New York too. There at the US Open, she had one definitive match that saved her season when she recovered from 6-2, 5-1 down and saved 2 match points versus Kai Kanepi in the second round before claiming victory in the end. In the fall, Aryna lost in the quarters of San Diego to Vekic and in the first round of Guadalajara to Samsonova. Overall, the season could have been better for Aryna as the US Open title was honestly within reach for her. However, it could have been a lot worse, but amidst all the double faults, Sabalenka's resilience and perseverance brought her to these finals. Aryna is making her return to the finals after narrowly missing out on the knockout round in Mexico last year. I honestly think that this is the most ideal section for her, as Aryna has a positive head-to-head over all the women here. She does have a 1-7 record against the finals field in 2022, but all 7 losses came against players in the other group, so she'll be very happy with where she ended up. This group will be very difficult for me to predict because any 2 women have a similar shot at being our semifinalists. I'm going to have Ons go 1-2 due to uncertainties about form with her not having a lot of match reps. On the other hand, I think Jessica's superb form will give her the edge in matchups against Jabeur and Sakkari. Sakkari of course is 1-2 and Sabalenka 2-1. I honestly think Aryna's game meshes well against the other women here, which is why I have her beating Pegula, for example. I do think Jessie will end up in first place here, but I still have Aryna making it to the final 4. In the semifinals, I have Swiatek and Sabalenka facing, with Iga winning, and then Pegula and Kasatkina with the American coming out on top. And then in the finals, I believe Iga will reign supreme once again. Looking at the field's chances of actually upending Iga, first with Jessica Pegula, I think that Pegula has been getting closer and closer to cracking the Swiatek code. She'll also have a lot of confidence from winning Guadalajara, finally getting the monkey off her back and winning a big title, and plus there she took out 4 slam champs. However, I'm not totally sure and convinced that she'll be able to go one step further here against Iga, but with the crowd support and with this newfound confidence, who knows. And then Aryna, she came close at the US Open to beating Iga, but Swiatek likely won't give her as many chances here, and she'll probably play better here. Jabeur could obviously come through and do well too, and I think that if she plays her game, her best game, she can trouble Iga and possibly beat her, but that still is a big if. I do not think that Garcia and Sakkari have the confidence to beat Iga, even though they have the games to do so if they're on and Iga is slightly off. And on the other hand, I don't think Coco nor Daria have the games right now to beat Iga should it come to that, so I don't have them really going all the way. Fundamentally, Iga just loves playing the top players on the biggest stages. She knows these girls' games very well and would be ultra determined to finish her year on a high, going undefeated in the finals, which I tout her to do. That's it for my WTA Finals preview, and let me know in the comments whether you agree or disagree with me having Iga taking it all. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post updates of the finals action. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.